I'm doing. The one that has to be the main session. You're on it. You're on it.
Yeah, I just have a couple I told you that I don't as much about it. And I feel like internet connectivity issues solving.
No. No, no, we are very. I'm very good. That is the problem. Yeah. Yeah. So, Lata, the key thing that I want to check is that are you seeing my, the full screen as. Yes, no worries. Later, that I mean. 2 mails I've sent you. So the first screen and this thing. If you just check the voice also for a minute, I will mute my phone. You can put it on. Yeah. Loud speaker. And you can just put it here. So yeah, can you hear me on the can you hear me on the voice? Lata, can you hear me? And Q&A. Yeah. So how people are asking questions. It'll come here. There's no questions that okay. Yeah. Okay, and one last question that I avoid. Okay. Um, so I'll put that in the chat. Guys, thanks for joining in. We'll start in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Just 1 minute. Now they look at this. Yeah. One second. You want to so this is your start. Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your interest in Lead Angels and this webinar. I'll start right away, and please put your questions as you want to ask them, and I'll try to answer all of them at the end of the presentation. So just to start, I'll give you my background. I've spent many years in the financial services and the consulting area. And then I got an opportunity to work for IIT Bombay, the incubator called SIG, Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And I spent 5 years there. It was a very, for me, not coming from a technology background, it was a very exciting time of my life. And as I was leaving IIT Bombay, I was thinking that, one does get, even though I was neither a student nor a professor, I did get very attached to the institution. And as I was leaving IIT Bombay, and I was thinking that this is the last time that I will ever come to IIT Bombay. And that sort of got me thinking about how can I do something that brings me back to IIT. And we thought, how about an angel network for IITians? And along with a professor and a student of IIT Bombay, I set up Lead Angels in 2014. And since then, I've been very fortunate that I get to go to many of the IITs. I've been to IIT Bombay, I've been to IIT Delhi, I've been to IIT Kharagpur and IIT Madras. And we invest in a lot of IIT founded startups, including IIT Madras, and get to work with the alumni of different IITs. So in a way, my farewell at SIG actually helped me to build something which keeps me in touch with IIT all the time. So that's my background. Lead Angels, as the name suggests, invests in early stage companies, also supports them in raising their next round of capital, as well as providing them management and professional services. Today, I think the topic is to engage. How do we engage with startups? And when you look at a startup, they look rather frail and vulnerable. Their behavior is quite idiotic. And for most people from the bricks and mortar world, very difficult to understand. But the funny thing is that however frail and vulnerable they may look, they are disrupting businesses all over the place. And the old bricks and mortar world is slowly crumbling in front of this little baby. And in some areas, this baby has become the gorilla, the 600-pound gorilla in the room. And these businesses are not very difficult to find. And recently we saw the Uber IPO, and the sort of returns that people made in that IPO. We hear of some of Uber drivers making $1 million, but here is a little list of people, the sort of money people made out of investing anywhere between 25,000 to uh, $75,000 dollars in Uber. So the global logic of startup investing has been to invest in disruptive businesses which can dominate very quickly in the market and reach such a level of dominance that uh, there's very little chance for a competitor taking over. Interestingly, the Indian story is a little different because India is a country still, if I may say so, work in progress. It's still under construction. We still have hundreds and thousands of problems to solve, unlike the West. And therefore, in India, there are so many opportunities uh, where the even the bricks and mortar world has not been able to penetrate, whether it is owning financial assets or access to credit or um, food, housing. These are all areas in India which are constrained by our geography and the lack of infrastructure. And leveraging technology, one can build fairly large companies. And the other interesting thing is that you need not be the only player in that space, that it's such a wide open space that there could be multiple players in these areas. And that really is the opportunity to invest in the Indian startup economy. And of course, there are many examples of that that we can see, uh, and in practically every metro today there are in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. There are bunch of companies which are now called unicorns, which means that they have valuations more than $1 billion. And those of us who invested early in them uh, are have made a lot of money. So the reason why people become angel investors, and I just want to take a moment here to share that, is the fact that you can potentially uh, you can see the mm, way of supporting these startups and make money. You also get to learn new techniques and technologies which you could apply to your own professional or business careers. And last and not the least, help these startup founders to make a difference in and solving some of India's seemingly unsolvable problems. So the reason why people become angel investors is not only about making money, but also learning new things and being able to participate in the revolution startup founders are making in India. And the sort of example that one takes where, how the new world is uh, disrupting the old. Indian hotels is, a very well known and revered brand, and which we all like and respect. And Oyo is just 5 years old uh, and is able to be more, get a better valuation and is almost close to being equal to their revenues. I'll just share the screen. Just give me a minute. Right, sorry for this interruption. So the Indian logic of startup investing is even in the services sector, there are huge opportunities where companies can grow very quickly and disrupt existing businesses. So obviously, smart investors are investing in startups compared to what they would invest in, would typically invest in equity, debt, or real estate markets. And because these companies are able to grow much faster than their counterparts in the stock markets, and they are able to quickly reach a level where they become potential acquisition targets. We saw how Flipkart got acquired by Walmart. And that is why smart investors, whether it is Warren Buffett, who is, the uh, sort of father of modern investing, or it is SoftBank, or it is companies like Alibaba, they are investing in the startup ecosystem. Just give me a minute. I think there's some technical problem. Right. I think we finally got the right screen going. Sorry for this. And that is really the challenge for the individual angel investor is, where do we find these companies? How do we evaluate them? How do you do all the legal paperwork and all of that? As well as once you invest into them, how do you monitor them and find a way of raising their next round, and or look for acquisition targets for these companies? These are all daunting tasks for an individual angel investor. And this is where angel networks like Lead Angels, and there are others as well, Indian Angel Network, Mumbai Angels, Chennai Angels, who have full-time teams to curate these startups, get, since these angel networks have people from multiple uh, professions and with different domain expertise, we are able to get a 360 view of the startup and therefore make better investment decisions. These networks also deploy professional accounting and legal firms to do legal and accounting due diligence, and post-investment, there are monitoring and support of these companies. The way the angel network works is where the community of angel investors uh, evaluates a proposal, but the investment decisions are made by the individual members of that network. A little bit about lead angels. We, of course, have, as I said, we have make investments as an angel network. We also have an advisory services arm, which provides support to companies raising their pre-series A and series A, as well as a management and professional services company, which does all the statutory requirements, supports all the statutory filings and other legal and financial filings which a company has to do. The way an angel network works, like lead angels, is that 3 opportunities get presented to the members meeting, whether online or in a physical form. Based on the level of interest each the members show, we decide to take the company for a further business review. The company presents for 15 minutes, people ask questions for 15 minutes, which is rarely enough time to fully evaluate a company. We take almost a month to do a deep dive into the company's prospects and risks that it faces. And then if that team still finds the company worth investing, they make an offer. And then that same offer is made available to all our members, either in India or overseas, whether present in that city or otherwise. Once we collect all these investor commitments, we give a term sheet to the company, we get legal and financial diligence done, documentation to take into account that minority shareholders will be investing in the company, and of course, post-investment, we start monitoring the progress of the company and help it to move forward. These are some of the companies that we have invested in. In fact, 2 of them are from IIT Madras. One is called Consumer X, which is into the wearable side, and the other was a company called Belita, which then got merged with a bricks and mortar beauty salon called Enrich. And actually, even though Belita didn't achieve what it was supposed to do, as shareholders of Belita, we got shares of Enrich, which raised 2 rounds of funding and is actually planning an IPO very soon. So even though our original investment was not looking very promising, by merging it with Enrich, we hope to make, hopefully become rich people, and the investors will become rich people. Lead angels, as I said, was started by 3 of us from IIT Bombay. Apart from me, Venkat is a director, is a partner of Avishkar, also was the managing partner of KPMG. But the team really is, young engineers from different engineering colleges who run the day-to-day operations of the company and are able to far better understand than some of us the trends of the startup world. These are some of the people who work. So we have a full-time person in Bangalore, in Delhi, and in Bombay who manage the angel network, and the rest of us support that activity from Bombay. And of course, we have members not only in the 5 cities that we operate, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Ahmedabad, but many of our members are located in cities where we don't have physical presence, but are able to access our proceedings through video recordings and conference calls, which happen from time to time. Or this is my email ID, and I'm happy to take any questions. I do apologize for some of the uh, technical challenges that we had on the way. Uh, Thank you. We have the first question here from Padmashri, a company who groups people like Uber, Oyo, Swiggy, etc. are likely to grow than cell phone and car companies. Good question. I think the auto sector has been on the decline globally. I think the markets for cell phones is also extremely competitive. Uh, and we've seen quite a few cell phone companies going down, Nokia being one. Uh, but I think the new technology wave that is coming, we are talking about people creating a platform and aggregating suppliers for different goods and services and making it available to people at large. And there is, in a way, therefore, a general decline in the focus on manufacturing. Happy to answer any more questions. Yeah, the question Roshan asked is, do angel investors have any specific criteria on with the basis of which they invest in startups? So I think the first thing is that we look at, is the market that the startup operates in very large? Is it a huge market? And we saw how Uber and Ola and Oyo attacked very, very large markets. Is the problem very big? Is there a way that technology can be used to disrupt the existing market? And is the capital required to run this business not very large? So angel investors will not invest in capital intensive industries, but asset light models. So what sort of ticket sizes do we present? We typically invest in companies which have a ticket size of 1 to 1.5 crores, and individual investors invest anywhere between 5 to 10 lakhs. So 5 being the minimum ticket size for investment. Nishant has asked a question, and I'm just reading it. What about film production business? The entry costs are low, and the individual investors need to put a value to the individual skills to create content rather than the value of the company. So yes, investment in films is very similar to investing in startups. However, we don't have any specific expertise in film production or knowledge of the and Tollywood industries, so we avoid that particular sector. Raj Subramaniam has asked this question: what qualities do you look for in the CEO of the startup for making an investment decision? So of course, we say that the whether do you back the jockey or do you back the horse? And that's a fundamental question of all investment decisions. We are very clear that when we're looking at the horse, that is the business, it should have potential, it should be, um, but the technology should be a disruptive force, and it should be low capital intensity. But when we look, but equally important is when we look, and sometimes more important is the founder of the company. If I were to say in one word what we look for a founder is that he or she should have a high level of passion, persuasiveness, and domain knowledge in that the sector that he is wants to get into. So you could fee that lead angels charges. We have a membership fee to join our angel network, and you can send those queries. There's an annual fee that we charge, which is 50,000 rupees. If you have any more queries, please email to us. Yashwant has asked this question: how much stake does a typical angel investor expect in exchange for the investment? So when we invest as a group about 1 crore of rupees, we typically own anywhere between 7 to 15% in a company, the average being around 10%. Ankit has asked this question, would like to know your opinion about online travel agency space who offer hotel bookings by pack of hours. We incidentally had seen a company in this space, and the whole concept of checkout at 12 o'clock, which is common, which is standard across all hotels, comes from the olden times when horses had to be changed at every every hotel. So the horses used to start out at 8 o'clock, and 12 o'clock is to reach their next stage. And somehow that has become the practice of the hotel industry. It of course doesn't make sense in today's world, but but if we have to change that from a 12 o'clock checkout to a 24-hour checkout, it will require changing a lot of existing practices. And I would think only a large player would be able to pull this off rather than a young startup. Anupam has asked this question: are angel networks technology sector specific, or which is a better way to approach an angel network, through an individual angel or through alumni contacts or directly to the network? So I think all angel networks will be very happy to connect through other members of that angel network. In our case, we're very happy to connect to you through the alumni network that you are part of. And we have a relationship with IIT Madras Alumni Association, where we hold not only such events and virtual events like this, but also going forward, we'll be working with the students and alumni who may be interested in entrepreneurship or angel investing. So we're not only looking at alumni to talk to about angel investing. We'll be very happy to look at your entrepreneurial ventures as well. So Venkatesh has asked a question: what are the various steps to evaluate an idea? So the idea that the companies that are presented and eventually get invested go through at least 5 or 6 stages of evaluation before they are found investment worthy. So in the case of lead angels, startups apply to us. Our teams evaluate them and shortlist a certain number to be sent to our investment committee. Our investment committee reduces, shortlists further and uh, uh, and finalizes three companies which come for presentation. And out of those three companies which are presented, they one of them or maybe maximum two of them are chosen for a deep dive, and only after that deep dive is over do people decide to whether to invest in them or not. But even after they have made a decision to invest in them, unless they pass through due diligence tests in the financial and legal space, only then does the investment happen. Yes, so Karthik has asked this question. This is the last question. I will answer them later on because the next session is about to start. And we will answer to them. But specifically, I will take up this. So Lead Angels does not only does angel investing, but we have an advisory arm which helps our portfolio companies to raise money and or do M&A. And in fact, as I mentioned, Belita, which we had invested into, was facilitated by us to merge with this company called Enrich. And of course, that is always a place to do that. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and the rest and ladies, and we'll answer your questions over email. So today, just to conclude, there'll be two other companies which will investment proposals that we are looking at, which will be shared to you so that today, immediately after this presentation, so that you and the founders will be presenting their companies for you to see what type of companies come and present to Lead Angels and to get a view of how what are the things that we look for in early stage companies. So please continue being online and wait for the presentation, which will start. Two presentations will start shortly. Yeah.
Check.
Just coming online, and we'll take a couple of more questions till then.
Oh. Actually,
So this is a question from Anupam Chandra. How do you evaluate companies which are looking for funding for developing a basic POC before even the product costing is difficult to do? For example, autonomous military vehicles. So as angel networks, and since we don't invest too much money, we prefer to look at companies which have already got market validation, which means companies which have already got either customers on board who have paid for by money or have got at least paid POCs, so that we know that there are customers out there in the market who will buy their product, who are willing to buy their product, and only then do we invest in them. My suggestion to such companies would be to look at incubators and accelerators who are more than willing to look at companies, pre-revenue companies. So Ashok Kumar has asked this question: do investors engage as advisors once the investment is made? Uh, once people have a skill in the game, they obviously want to help the company, and and with their help, the company can grow better. So investors, our angels are always there to help uh, their investee companies and even other companies, because I think angel investors want to help, also help the startup ecosystem. Having said that, sometimes you need professional help for these companies, and we then advise them to look at investment bankers, lawyers, and accountants to take the next steps to execute those ideas that they may have. Suresh Jairam has this question: is there any scope for funding in the case of the startup is not focusing on a disruptive idea or space, but competing in a market based on quality, ease of use, cost of product services provided, where there are existing players in the market? So I think competition is as definitive thing. Sooner or later, there's going to be competition. So Flipkart was not the first company to get into e-commerce, and neither was Ola in taxi services. So competition is definitely, and Flipkart was able to compete with Rediff and Times Internet on the basis of ease of use, because they started COD, and cash on delivery, and that's what made them succeed. So I don't think that there is, especially in a country like India, being the second or the third player in a particular market is not will not dampen the spirits of investors. Rishabh Sinha has asked this question: why do normal angel investors are shy to invest in electric vehicle startups? I'm not don't have complete knowledge of this sector, but this is a very capital intensive business, and therefore, rather than angels, there are VCs who are willing to take uh, sort of risk capital investment. A very good question from Shivran Dhara. What is the typical hit rate at lead angels? So, venture capital, angel funded companies, and there are various statistics on this, but typically only about 5% of angel invested companies give uh, huge returns to investors. Lead Angels has been, because I think we have a lot of members who are from IITs, our success rate has been a lot better. I think we are able to look at 30 to 40% of our companies giving profitable exits on when we exit from them. So we typically invest so there's a question from Vinod. We typically invest in Indian startups. Uh, in a few cases where there are Indian founders who set up their company in the US, while their operations are in India, we have invested in them. We want to invest in those startups where we can add value. And if they're located in geographies where we are not present, we don't invest in them. This is a question from Sachdev Ramakrishna. What is the advice to startups to find a good match with angels who may resonate with their pursuit rather than going on a wild chase and getting their proposal lost in a big pile? So this is, of course, the opposite side of angel investing is how do you approach angel investors. It always helps to go through a reference to a fellow entrepreneur or a batchmate or an alumni member who adds value to that reference that you have when you approach an angel network. Of course, even if you want to send a cold email, maybe it's better to do a LinkedIn request and then send it, so that at least it's better than just sending an email.
Check, check.
I think we have one more technical problem here. So the two founders are not able to join this presentation. However, we can. My colleague and I will give brief backgrounds about these two business investment opportunities. And should you be interested in either one of them, please leave your email ID with the alumni office or email ID, or to me. My email ID was given at the end of my presentation, and we will get back to you with their presentation. So let me start. So this is a company founded by three. This company is called UP, and it was founded by three IIT Kharagpur alumni who actually provide repair and servicing of two-wheelers and four-wheelers, which are present in IT parks. So, as you know, IT parks employ a lot of young people who have, two-wheelers and four-wheelers who come and park their car or motorcycle there. And if and the motorcycle and car is typically parked for 8 hours or more at that location. So these guys figured that we could actually service and or repair these things whenever there is a problem right in their office location, so that they don't have to waste a Saturday or a Sunday going out to find a service, a repair person or a service center, and get spoil their weekends. They already are operational in Bangalore in about 4 IT parks. They're also entering gated societies, and they've been able to. On the other side, they have technicians who join the platform and able to provide the service to the users. Again, as I said, my email ID is given. Should you be interested in this company, please let me know. The other company is called Mitra, and my colleague uh, Ishan is that.
Hi everyone. So if you're Leadstart is in a publishing sector. It's started by people who've been in this industry, traditional publishing, self-publishing, and has worked with a lot of authors previously. It's basically an integrated system for authors from the beginning of their journey to the end of the journey. Authors can come on this platform, uh, initially start with self-publishing. Uh, these guys give a platform where authors can self-publish in multiple languages. I think it's about 50, 60 odd languages you can publish your book and immediately get an access to distribute this books online across multiple platforms in states, in UK, in India, with a print on demand facility. So you every time there's an order, it always shows on inventory. It's available. Every time there's an order placed on any of the marketplaces Leadstart is partnered with, the book goes on their print on demand facility, gets printed out within a minute or two. This enables them to save cost on inventory and deliver products as when ordered. There are several other advantages which I'll talk about of print on demand facility. Now, this is the beginning of the journey. Over a period of time, now they've narrowed down the funnel. They've identified after self-publishing which books are doing well and which are not doing well. So the ones that are heroes, they pick up those authors and take the traditional publishing route where they buy out all the rights of the book and sell it in more than one ways. One is publish book in a much wider network. They've partnered with Times and other people called Balaji, etc. And secondly, they sell those rights to people like Amazon and Netflix who wants to create videos out of it. So these guys are about 850 plus IPs. Their integrated approach helps them to narrow the funnel of finding the right and work hero authors. Third thing, which is the end reader. They have a reader app that allows every reader to uh, get helps authors to get an insight on how readers are reading their books. So if say a reader ends up reading two chapters, but most of the readers drop reading after a second chapter, the author gets some insights and analytics that maybe there's something wrong on chapter two in India while it's working pretty fine in states. So immediately the author can make changes. And now since they have a print on demand facility, author can make changes on the second chapter so that there is an interest to read the chapter third in India. Immediately all marketplaces that are in Leadstar is selling in India, they have an updated book, and the next book that gets printed out because it's a print on demand facility is a new book. So there is a continuous there's a mechanism to continuously update book without having to do a lot of investment. So this is an integrated platform that these guys have built. They're doing about a couple of crores in revenue, projected to do 5 crores. We can share more details. Like Sushanto mentioned, you can reach out to us or you can reach out to IITMAA, and we'll be happy to share more details on these companies and many more that we've been looking at in terms of investment opportunity. Thank you so much for coming. Feel free to write down the email IDs. We can directly also share the presentations of both these companies along with an executives, along with their pitch videos, the presentation that these guys made at our monthly meetings. If you have any queries, you can always reach out to us. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming down. I just Yeah, so you can write down the email IDs on the comments part, and we'll just someone from our team will reach out with all the details. And we are also sharing our email ID, so you can reach out to us on this email ID with all the queries that you might have.
Thank you very much for being here. I hope you liked it, and we'll be in touch.
Great.